Hey guys, welcome back to Staying Sweet, the podcast. I'm here today to give you the mid-year check-in notification that you guys know and love. I feel like my check-in episodes and my goal-setting episodes do the best, and I always get the most listeners. So buckle up, guys. Let's chat all things mid-year check-in. But first, a word from our sponsors. Oh yeah, I don't have any. So if there's anybody out there who would be interested in working with me on this podcast, please do get in touch. I'm actually looking for some advertisers, and do you know what? It was one of my goals to sort out this year, and I've still yet to do it. So that's me holding myself accountable on this podcast episode. If you're somebody who thinks that their brand or service would be a good fit for this podcast, please do get in touch. I have my Instagram at Staying Sweet Podcast, or contact me directly at alicelucybradley. Thought I would just segue with that initially because it's been at the top of my brain and at the top of my to-do list for the longest time. And I feel like a mid-year check-in is just, isn't it just that time of year when you're like, right, there's some things I really need to do and I really need to get done. And if I don't do them now, and if I don't try and tackle them now, it's going to roll into next year, and I really don't want that to be the case. So one of those things is getting advertising for this podcast, because I've got lots of lovely listeners and viewers now that we've got the video aspect to the podcast. And yeah, I just absolutely love this platform. I've really enjoyed coming back, stepping back into it and hitting the ground running with video. And I just think it was one of my biggest goals this year, finally getting down to it. You guys are finally seeing it launch in the middle of the year. I really wanted to do it a lot sooner. Like, I actually had every intention of launching or relaunching with video back in March. Some things just don't happen the way that you once planned or thought, but that's okay. We roll with the punches. And really, this episode is the mid-year check-in for a reason. It's about looking at what we're doing well, where we might be procrastinating, and what we can be doing better. So we're going to be looking and evaluating at how well this year has gone so far. And I've got some R words to kind of inspire you. The first one being to reminisce. Reminisce on 2023. Think back to your wildest moments, your funnest moments, moments that maybe made you question everything, made you question your entire existence. Think about those moments and what they have served for you this year. Have they been in alignment and, on the right kind of path for you this year? Has anything been a bit of a plot twist or a change? Has there been anything that's kind of crept up that you thought, wow, I didn't think I'd be dealing with that this year, but here I am? What I want you guys to do with that really is to reflect and think about what lessons have kind of come to play this year. So for me, a lot of the lessons I've had to experience is a feeling of patience, but also ditching perfectionism. Like, a real lesson, a hard lesson for me has been, if you don't just take the action, it's never going to happen. You just have to make it happen. And sometimes that messiness and not really having a game plan is the only way to really see results, or at least see change, which then can lead to improvements and things working out, better than you'd hoped. But my real thing is the kind of weighing up between patience and being a patient person and procrastinating an outcome because I want it to be perfect. So that's really been a hard lesson for me this year, and I'm getting better at it. I have to say, I'm trying at least. The next thing I want you guys to think about is really thinking about how you can reevaluate what you've got going on for the rest of the year, and also what you thought this year was going to entail. I know with my episode, I can't remember what number it is, guys, but I will link it in the show notes and in the description for YouTube, all about creating that kind of plan for yourself and that real big breakdown of what you want the year to entail. And we spoke about themes and how having themes for your year helps you create and curate a much more succinct vibe. Like, if you were to describe your year in a word, what would it be? Like, what would it have been at the start of the year and what is it now? Compare those words. Are they the same? Are you still on the same energy? Are you switching things up? You know, some things might be changing for you. It might have gone from adventurous wildness to wellness and health, because I feel like that's what's going on in my life right now. So refocusing, not being afraid to refocus and reevaluate on like what's going on, but most importantly, thinking about the habits for the rest of the year. So what are we improving on? Are we updating our goals list? What have we ticked off? Because I feel like I've ticked off a few things on my vision board, but also I've ticked off things that weren't on my vision board. So like, where do those things go? Where do we place those things? Do we, you know, give ourselves enough of a pat on the back for achieving things that we didn't even think were going to happen in our year? This is why the mid-year check-in is so important. And something that I have spoken about before, actually at the beginning of the year, is going through each month and at the end of each month, writing a few things down that you did well in that month, or that you achieved, big or small. Because when it gets to New Year, you tend to like gloss over all the bits in the middle. Like, you'll remember one or two things that you did, but actually there's loads of things you can celebrate, little wins, big wins, all the wins in between that make up, you know, the year that you've had. So don't be afraid to celebrate all those wins. Update that goals list and think about what you could be doing to welcome this like second half of the year. So we've got 6 months. We've got a lot of time, guys. You know, what's already happened in the last 6 months? I feel like my life has done a 180 in 6 months. So what could happen next year, or what could happen for the rest of the year? Sorry. So I'm going to leave you with some journal prompts. This is a really short and sweet episode because I just wanted it to be like a bite-size. Like, I wanted to hit you with all the motivation. I wanted to hit you with it all short and sweet, as we like it, you know, staying sweet. We are going to do some journal prompts just to finish up, because I just think they are so helpful when you open a notebook or you open a journal and you think, I need to really check in with my emotions and myself, but I don't know what to answer. I don't know what to write. Some days I have that. So I'm going to offer you the journal prompts this week. We have, what has been my proudest moment this year? Now, I want you to like really think about this. Don't just think on like surface level. This could be anything and everything that comes to mind. Like, if you are not good at like writing proper sentences, just bullet point things down. Like, think about things that have been wins for you or that have made you feel proud of yourself this year. The next question I want you to consider is, what is the best thing I have done for my future self this year? Now, I can think of something I haven't done for my future self that I want to do, and it's to do with saving money, outing myself here. But what things have I done this year? I mean, it's actually quite triggering, isn't it? It's like, what have I done to make life easier for my future self? List them. I'm trying to think, because I'm thinking, what have I done for my future self? No, I tell you what I have done. I've invested in this podcast, and I've decided I'm not just going to record it in my childhood bedroom. I'm going to a studio. I'm going to invest, and that is what is going to stand me in good stead for the rest of the year and beyond. And actually, that is like a now investment for a future version of myself. And actually, when we talk about, you know, becoming the next version of ourselves, what would that next version person be doing? What would they be wearing? What would they be, you know, attending? How would they be dressing? Like, if you can't think of anything that you've done now, like, think about what things you can do in this next 6 month chapter. Are there any relationships this year that I have nurtured? List those people, list those relationships. Who have you really put your energy into? Who have you put your good energy into, and like focus, and like what plants have you watered? Like, you should be proud of yourself if you've watered relationships and you've nurtured relationships. Who are those people? Like, look at how that relationship has transformed. And then I'm going to hit you with the other side of that. Are there any relationships that you've neglected? Anyone coming to mind? Because could you be thinking, okay, how could I show up for that person, or how could I put more effort in for that person? And if there's someone you've neglected because it's like a phase out and like it's an end of an era or end of a chapter, that's okay as well. And my final question, which is a bit deep but also not. If my year ended today, would I feel satisfied with the outcome? Again, I feel like mildly triggered by that. If my year ended today, if it was like, right, happy new year guys, we're now in 2024, would you look back at your 2023 and think, I did some shit that year. I actually put in effort, or I had the best time. I got out of my comfort zone. I tried new things. I made new friends. I traveled the world. You know, are you satisfied with the person you become in that year? And that's all I'm going to leave you with, just to get your juices flowing with the mid-year check-in. You know, it's not about overthinking it and dwelling on it to the point where you think you've had like the worst year ever, because if you have, you've still got 6 months left. You know, we've got some time to work on ourselves and really smash the final part of the year. So yeah, it's just like a reminder that time passes, and you know, we can move on to new things. We can start those new chapters today. We don't need to wait until New Year's Eve, okay? So thank you so much, guys, for listening. I feel like I just was like shouting at you for the majority of this episode, but I promise you it's passion. If you enjoyed this episode, please do give it a rate and review over on the Spotify or podcast streaming platforms. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a like and comment below something. Let me know something that you're most proud of for achieving this year. Let me know, because I would be really keen to hear from you. Thank you so much, guys, for watching and listening, and I will see you next week.